don't know. Whenever I play an alt, like I play it for like a couple days, and then I'm like, man, I just want to play my main class. Like I've pretty much religiously played DK since it was released. So
It's September 25th, 2024, and you know why we're here, so let's kick this off right and introduce the players. Hello everyone, I'm Treesap Jake, and this is my solemn oath never to pick a fight with Zico.
That's good advice. My name is Big Moran, and I had to take out a loan this week to buy enchants. Turns out they're pretty expensive still. But today, we're joined by Party Waffles, who is a rank 1 DK. I think one of the highest rated Unholy DKs currently on the solo shuffle ladder. Number 2, maybe? 1 or 2? I don't know. But Party Waffles, why don't you introduce yourself to the stream?
What's up, everybody? I'm Party Waffles. Yeah, they're right. I played Death Knight since basically the beginning of time. We ended number 1 on the ladder last season for Unholy, and we're the only Death Knight in the entire world to get rank 1 as Unholy and Frost in solo shuffle last season, and every single solo shuffle title. So, I definitely play Death Knight, but yeah.
Definitely do.
Just out of curiosity, which spec do you enjoy more? Frost or Unholy?
I enjoy Unholy more. I played Frost for a long time, many years, but then I swapped to Unholy as in the last couple expansions. It's just more reliable, right? Reliable, consistent. Yeah, but I like both.
Because Jake, you play DK too, right?
I have done. I've dabbled. I'm definitely a dabbler. I'm not a main DK. It's very enjoyable. Haven't played it this expansion so far, but I play with a DK and I play with guys that do play DK, and they're just tearing it up.
It was crazy because on the beta, and I think I actually queued into you on beta when Frost is really broken. That was an interesting few weeks when Reaper was hitting for like 50% of people's HP. Yeah, that was pretty crazy. And then it got nerfed, and then suddenly Frost DK, not the best. It's kind of a weird solo shuffle spec, Frost. Like sometimes I people say it's really bad, but sometimes it just does amazing in some lobbies. It
has really good control.
Yeah, and if you can play with one of those like AoE blaster classes, it's pretty gnarly. But anyway, thanks for joining us today. And what we like to do on this stream is we like to open up with a need greed pass, which is a little mini game, I guess, where I'm gonna present a scenario and I'm gonna give us 3 options. We're gonna need one of those options, greed, and then we're gonna pass on whichever one we don't like. So yeah.
I will press the bumper then. 1 second. That work?
This likely won't be a
hopefully it works.
So keep your distance, Harry!
It did work. We talked over it. That's fine. We got it.
So, need greed pass. So right now, class balance is kind of a little bit all over the place. And I think it's a classic situation, and this typically happens at the beginning of an expansion, where you have some overperforming specs that are just clearly kind of a step above the rest. I think for range DPS, you could argue that it's Marks Hunter, to some degree Devastation Evoker. Melee, at a high level, it's probably something like Sub Rogue, but actually the melee meta is pretty competitive, I think. Quite a few bangers. Healers right now are kind of dominated by Preservation Evokers and Disc Priest. Holy Paladins maybe will be up there this week, but anyway. Then we have the the underperforming specs, and it's kind of the typical cast of maybe Enhancement Shaman, that's Frost DK even, and to some degree, earlier this expansion, Demon Hunter, who just recently got buffed. But anyway, we have a few options to how to handle class balance right now. The age-old question: what do we do? Do we buff the weaker specs? So that's going to be option 1. Do we nerf the strongest specs? That's going to be option 2. And finally, option 3 is basically do nothing and wait for the 11.0.5 reworks, which should be coming either next month or early November. So, Party Waffles, since you're an Unholy DK, which was pretty strong at the beginning of the expansion, but kind of been toned down a little bit, what do you think we should do? Should we buff the weak, or nerf the strong, or do nothing? What is your need? What is your greed? What is your pass?
Okay, so I think that we should, before the recent changes, I was going to say they should just buff everything, but I don't know. I honestly think they should just buff the underperforming specs, because to me, like, I just made a tier list recently and there was like so many S/A tier classes that it's like they could just bring down the weaker classes. It seems like there's less weak classes than there is strong classes, right? So to me, it feels like they should just bring up the weak classes and maybe slightly tone down the upper ones. Not sure if I did that right with the pass and everything.
No, so basically, in essence, like you'd probably need buffing the weaker specs, right? Like that's what you would go for.
I would say so, yeah. Like the healers that are underperforming and stuff, instead of like gutting the good ones like Prez and stuff, I'd rather just bring the other ones up.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then what would you like greed between the two of them? Like if you had like a second option, would you like nerf them or wait for the reworks?
For the second option, I would probably just wait for the rework, honestly, after the AWC and whatnot.
Yeah, cool. And pass on those nerfs then. Fair enough. No, that's
Yeah.
fair. That's fair.
It's funny you mentioned tier lists. Like tier lists are the bane of my existence. I have to make tier list videos all the time, and it's kind of tricky because, like, at least in the past few expansions, like towards the end of Dragonflight, it seems like classes are kind of converging on the A tier. Like there's obviously like every season something that's really good, but I think most specs are kind of gravitating around the A tier, and there's very few like true underperformers these days. So for me, this question is actually kind of tricky because if I'm biased. I'm gonna say I'm gonna be biased here. And as a druid,
tier sets, tier videos, or tier lists?
no, I'm gonna be biased for wrestler druids because right now
okay.
I'm having fun playing druid, but the reason I think I'm not having as much fun as I could be is like the banger specs right now are just like really, really strong. And I can't imagine like trying to be a healer when everyone's like a banger spec. So I just want a little bit, like I just want a few nerfs to like Devastation Evoker. I know they have been nerfed, but I still think they're pretty strong. Marks Hunters are obviously really good. But yeah, Prez and Disc are just, it feels like they're like on a completely different level for healers right now. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty brutal. It's really weird because like games in the past as a druid, you could just kind of win passively, like in deep dampening, but you can't do that anymore because Prez and Disc are like good enough to like live in deep dampening too, and it feels pretty brutal. So I'm actually going to need on buffing the weaker specs. I'm going to need on nerfing the strongest specs because I think there's a few, like I kind of want maybe the A+ tier to be the cap for everyone. And then I will greed on buffing the weaker specs, and then I don't know, waiting for a rework seems kind of annoying to me. And plus, I mean, every time they do these reworks, it just seems like the meta gets absolutely bonkers for a few weeks or a few months. And so, I mean, we'll see what's in store come November. But Jake, what about you?
Yeah, no, I think you make a really valid point on reworks. The kind of collective PTSD I think we all suffer from the Paladin rework definitely lingers. I'm gonna be a little bit of a devil's advocate. You know, Garrison isn't here. I've got to do it. I'm going to say that we are, like, you know, there are some reworks coming. Things are going to change. So let's say if things get buffed now or if things get nerfed now, you know, something fundamentally is going to change in the next patch. Is it going to be so big that something drastically changes and therefore all of the buffs and nerfs don't really matter anymore because there's a massive problem? Who knows? So I think I'm going to wait until the 11.05 reworks just to see what happens. But then I would greed buffing the weaker specs. I think, as Party Waffle said, pretty much everything is up there at the minute. Most things are viable. Most things feel strong. It's just there are certain specs, classes that just feel really almost unplayable in, and it's a very small number, at least it feels to me, that almost feel unplayable in the meta. Having played a lot of Warrior recently, I know that I'd love to see a bit of Arms kind of creep back in, as it is genuinely the funner spec, as it were, the more fun one to do out of the two. And then I will probably pass on nerfing stronger specs. I think nobody likes to feel weak, and that's why like everyone gets that sort of flavor of the month reroll aspect, just because of the fact that, you know, everyone wants to play something strong. And, you know, if you get tired of being totally dunked on the entire time, I get it. I totally understand it. But oh, sorry.
I think we can all agree that like it's pretty shameless how people just flavor the month reroll like in this day and age. Like, it's crazy to me. Like, there's some players, like, I don't know if you've ever like played against someone in solo shuffle and just like check out their check PvP, and they have like a million alts of every single spec. You're like, oh my god, like, do you have a main? Like, kind of, to me it just feels so weird to play WoW without having like
a main,
like maybe one or two mains or something.
I know, I can relate to that for sure.
But that's how a lot of people play this game these days. They just like look at a tier list and they're like, okay, I'm gonna play whatever on the S tier, and they don't care about class identity and whatever. I mean, maybe those things are kind of outdated by now, but I mean, I still think it's cool to be like a druid, and like I like it, and I'm always gonna play druid. But yeah, it's
I get that.
And I think this expansion, as much as I like the War Within so far, like the potential to re-roll is like exponential. Like, you can level really quickly now, you can gear really quickly now. Like, it's probably going to be a very flavor of the month meta the entire time, like more so than we saw in Dragonflight. Because even though Dragonflight had an easy gearing system, I think this gearing system is even easier. So
definitely a bit more to use. Like I like, to be honest, personally for me, I don't know about the both of you, but I actually really like that you can have your honor isn't just this sort of like, you know, maxed out thing that you can never use. I feel like I am using it a lot more, which is nice, even if it's just grinding a bit of cash. But I'm just curious, Party Waffles, you know, talking about like flavor of the month, re-rolling and stuff. Is there an alt that you kind of, what's your like go-to alt if you were to choose one?
I honestly haven't played many alts. Like I played Ret, Warrior, and DH a little bit, but it was just like, I don't know, whenever I play an alts, like I played for like a couple days and then I'm like, man, I just want to play my main class. Like, I've pretty much religiously played DK since it was released, so I didn't even touch an alt for like so many years. But I mean, honestly, if I play an alt right now, it's like I'm just going to play something good because I play DK no matter what state it's in, right? So I just follow them the alt, right? Realistically.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I feel like it's, I don't know, it's kind of like what Big Moran was saying. It's sort of, everything is kind of, you feel like people don't really have a main anymore. And I think I'm guilty of that personally. Like, I've played Ellie Shaman pretty much since MOP, and it's been my sort of like go-to, and I just haven't enjoyed it in the last two expansions. So I feel like I'm just kind of smashing my head against the wall, even though it's strong. I guess I'm kind of like a reverse Photom roller. Like, I've kind of moved away from stuff and play stuff that I actually enjoy playing that has a similar style. So Evoker for me has kind of plugged that gap. But it's just interesting. Like, I love it when you hear people like, I've played DK or I've played Warrior since, you know, I was raiding Molten Core and now I'm here sort of 20 years later, whatever, still playing it. So I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I always just wanted to be a master of one rather than a master of none, you know?
Exactly. I think that's everyone's dream. But the jack of all trades curse comes for you. Brill. If for those of you who are listening, if you want to play along, please do let us know in the Twitch chat which ones you choose. Just as a reminder, or if you're listening at home, that was buff weaker specs, nerf stronger specs, or wait for 11.05 reworks. So let us know what you think. But just to kind of keep things moving, let's chat about the upcoming WoW PvP events.
Get in there and fight! Stop hiding!
Okay. I'm getting better at the bumpers. I'm getting better. So obviously one of the big things that's up and coming, pretty much, I mean, like at the end of this
right
week,
now.
yeah, right now is happening, is the AWC Cup number 1, which is taking place from the 27th to the 29th of September. I'm guessing they're already doing the kind of preliminary stuff as we speak.
Yeah, they had the EU Open bracket this morning, and right now they're doing the NA Open bracket, I think. Or maybe that's like in an hour or something. I have no idea.
That's pretty cool.
I mean, Party Waffles, do you follow the AWC?
Sometimes. I'll watch it on stream here and there sometimes, but I don't really always follow it. But lately, I'm watching it a little bit more, though.
What about Party Waffles in the AWC?
Yeah.
I like solo shuffle more. They make a solo shuffle AWC, I'm there, bro. But I'm not so much of a. I don't know. I don't like to structure my schedule around other people, right? I kind of just when I have time, I want to play, and threes is like my least favorite bracket, to be honest with you.
Wow.
But maybe.
That's crazy. I think you might have been the first person actually to say to not prefer threes, and I respect that massively. But anyway, moving forwards, the Cup number 2. Just obviously these are dates for you guys to be aware of. 4th and 6th of October, and then Cup number 3, 11th to the 13th of October, and then Cup number 4, 18th to the 20th of October. Then you've got the Gauntlet, so obviously the one where the teams that haven't made it through to the grand finals will fight their way up to get a spot at the grand finals. That's the 15th to the 17th of November. And then obviously the actual grand finals happen at the end of that. We've also got the MDI time trial. I don't know what that means. MDI time trials from the 16th to 21st of October. And then I think that's Group A, 1st to the 3rd of November. Group B, 8th to the 10th of November. There is apparently there's a Chinese one as well. Garasar, you need to confirm whether that's the case or not. And then the global finals for the MDI is the 22nd to the 24th of November. So just after the AWC. Obviously, you are getting those banners, the one-time banners for the AWC and one for the MDI. I really wanted to sign up. I wanted to get the banner. Even if I straight up got absolutely clapped, I really want to get one of those. So fingers crossed, I can convince my teammates to find a day where they don't need to work so we can do that. But that is that. Those are the events. So what we've got next is the reason why we've got Party Waffles here, which is our subject of analysis. So let's play the bumper.
I'm gonna light you up, sweet cheeks.
Brill. Okay, so very obviously, you're a DK main. This is your, I suppose, your area of expertise, and they are strong right now. They're doing well. So first things first, how's it sort of feeling to play Unholy at the minute?
Well, I was feeling a lot better before it was Jungle Cleave every single game, I'll tell you that much. But feels pretty good, right? We have a ton of damage. It feels like we're lacking kill potential though, because we don't have an execute, and they just nerfed it yesterday even more. And then the meta hard counters us almost every other game. So, I mean, it's a little bit less fun than it was a week ago, but still pretty good to be a DK right now, I'd say. We're pretty strong, but the meta doesn't really favor us as much, but we're definitely strong overall if we don't fight hard counters.
And would you say, the spec is... I think there's this category of specs in Arena right now, which I call, blender specs. That just, they like to group things up and just AoE blast. And
Definitely blender.
Definitely. Okay. So yeah, because you're still doing the, triple, or you're doing the, grips, blinding sleets.
Yeah. I basically just want to grip people into Defile. Defile is like a 15-second cooldown or something really short from the Horseman. So I just want to keep gripping into Defile basically and cleaving as much as possible.
And your Horseman can proc a Death and Decay, right? One of your horses.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they can.
One big change that I noticed with Unholy is the I can't even remember the name right now. Grippy, slappy hands, whatever.
A-bomb limb? Yeah, abomination.
A-bomb limb. Yeah, that was kind of saw a bit of a nerf going into the expansion, right? It used to do damage and give you runes, or it used to do big damage and give you runes. Now it's just it just grips people one time. Do you think that was a good change, or how do you feel?
I don't think it matters that much. It was the same as in Dragonflight, right? It already did no damage in Dragonflight, and you were just using it for a grip. You're just using it for a grip the same way now. It's pretty much the same. Shadowlands is when it was actually good damage-wise, but yeah, it's just an extra grip, right? Like I'll pop everything, get my defile down, and then I'll just throw it up so that it passively grips everyone back into my cleave. But yeah, it's not too crazy. Like you can play it or not play it, but I opt to play it just because extra utility and grips is never a bad thing.
And I know one of the sort of complicated things about Unholy DK, well, at least in the past, is you kind of have a few different disjointed offensive cooldowns. You have like your 3-minute pop. I don't know if it's still 3 minutes, but you have your long, your big CDs, everything. Then you kind of have your micro burst CDs. Is that more or less the same in War Within?
So the way it works now in the War Within is everything perfectly lines up, right? So you just pop all your CDs in the opener, and then they're just going to come up. You just press them on cooldown, they're going to line up perfectly. Because like A-Bomb's 45, Dark Transformation's 45, your A-Bomb that summons your army or whatever horseman is 1.5 minutes. So everything's super nice the way it lines up now. Nothing like last expansion. The CDs synergize perfectly.
Do you find that it is a bit more fluid to play than in Arena?
Yeah, it feels nice. Level? It feels nice in every arena. Yeah, it feels good. Just because then your stuff just perfectly lines up, right? So it's actually feels good to stack them up. The second time you get to your A-Bomb, it's like you have everything back. Unholy Assault, literally everything, and then usually that's when they just die. So it feels much more fluid for sure.
Nice. And then I know you gained a few new sort of anti-caster passives this expansion. Where I know on the DK tree, I believe it's called Null Magic, which I think has a PvP modifier on it.
It does.
And then you have the AMS thing where you can AoE AMS, which I don't think you played because I can hit your pets. But are you finding yourself more tanky against casters this expansion, or not so much?
Yeah, I find myself more tanky for sure, definitely. The Horseman's aid that they just nerfed too was crazy. So like before the nerf, that was like we would just heal for so much passively. Like the one where your horsemen just throw up the AMS on your teammates. Not the one you're talking about, the talent, but the hero talent.
Yeah,
that one was crazy. But yeah, I don't feel like I'm too worried about casters too much. I feel pretty alright into them. It's mostly just hunters.
Yeah, I think everyone's problem is hunters.
Fair.
Definitely my problem for sure. Yeah. Are there any specific talents, like any capstone talents, anything that you kind of want to draw attention to from the Deathknight talent tree? Obviously for the War Within, is there anything that people should pay close attention to or should really know?
New talents? Not that I can think of off the top of my head. I mean, one talent you should probably pay attention to right now is PvP talent, Bloodforged. Like, if you want to tank with the jungle cleaves, you're probably going to need to use that. Like, that's what I was playing today, and we could survive, but...
What does it do? What is Bloodforged?
So when you... Bloodforged is a PvP talent. When you Death Strike, it gives you a wall. I think it's 20%. So you just try to keep that up as much as physically... Yeah, it's a 20% wall for 3 seconds. So you just try to keep that up as much as you physically can and tank them out. But in terms of other talents, I'm not sure. Nothing really sticks out.
Nothing... Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, like, I don't think your trees changed very much, right? Going into this expansion.
It kind of did. Basically what happened is we got, like, last season there was, like, 3 specs, right? Like, dot spec, bursting spec, and, like, Clawing Shadows bursting. Or, like, dot pet or just whatever. But now it's, like, you get all the builds in one, basically. Like, we have Even Fever, which makes their dots do more damage faster. We have that, plus Plaguebringer, plus Bursting Wounds, which we couldn't have before. Like... So we could never have Even and Bursting before. So now it's like you basically get almost all the builds in one build, except for you don't have Clawing Shadows. So that's like the only thing. But it's essentially all the good builds in one. It's nice.
And Clawing Shadows allows you to attack from ranged? Is that what that does?
Yeah, that's the ranged Scourge Strike one, yeah. But we can't really play it because Plaguebringer is so strong because of our dots. So...
Yeah, that makes sense. And then obviously, I mean, have you felt the nerfs that have come in from, I think it was on Frost Fever? That you have?
Yeah, like a week ago or whatever. I did feel that one, yeah, but at the same time, it's just like pad damage, so it's not super noticeable, really. And it was our top damage, which made no sense anyways, so...
Yeah, no, that makes sense, Okay, cool. Well, then obviously, like, hero talents are the big one that have just kind of come in with the arrival of this expansion. There's a couple of options. Obviously, from my experience, I've only really seen Riders of the Apocalypse.
Yeah.
But between Sand Lane and Riders of the Apocalypse, is there any flexibility? Could you go to one or the other?
No. Sand Lane sucks. It's not the way Sand Lane's designed makes no sense for PvP at all in any way, because it's like designed around spamming Scourge Strike, which we don't even prio at all. We prio coils, and secondly, it kind of wants you to spam Scourge Strike without wounds too, which also feels super weird and not fun to do at all. So just the way it's designed is just pretty terrible for PvP. In PvE, it's all right, but yeah.
Let's let's break down, like, if you could just like maybe describe. So first of all, the options are Rider of the Apocalypse and Sand Lane. So maybe what's the summary of Rider of the Apocalypse? What does it do, and why is it good?
Okay, so Rider is just like passive damage. You summon horsemen, which have special effects, and they do a lot of damage. And you get some mobility from it. Like you get your steed where you can ride, and then just basically just passive, right? It's just passive damage that plays into the way you play perfectly. You don't have to change your play style or do anything. It's just extra damage and extra defensives and everything like that. Yeah. And then Sand Lane is... So Sand Lane can like spawn blood beasts, which never ever spawn. It's just a thing that does damage then explodes, but they literally never spawn. And then you can proc something called Vampiric Strike, which replaces your Scourge Strike. And when you use your Dark Transformation, it like perma goes to Vampiric Strike. So you kind of want to just spam the vampire, have your diseases on them, spam the Vampiric Strike, and it's going to like build up your disease. And then at the end, it's going to do big damage and stuff. But it like, to just press Dark Transformation and just sit there spamming Scourge Strike with no wounds on one target, it just feels so bad and makes no sense. But
and
yeah,
Sand Lane is kind of it's the blood hybrid, right?
Yeah. It is.
And so, like, maybe do you think could be like a use case for it, like in a duel or something? Like, when would you ever play Sand Lane?
You wouldn't. PvE is when you would play it, maybe. And if anywhere, you don't play it in PvP right now.
Yeah.
Not that
Or role playing. Or role playing, guys. Don't forget the role players.
That's right.
Yeah,
So,
it's just designed not well.
One question I had, because I know with the Rider of the Apocalypse, you have 4 different horsemen. And from my understanding, they do 4 different things. So is there a horseman or 2 that are better than the others? Or like, because I know it's the passive gives you a random horseman, but you can also proc all 4 at once. So first of all, break down what each horseman does and which ones are good, and then how do you proc all 4 at the same time?
Well, all 4 you just press your army of your A bomb, and that summons them, all 4 of them. But Mograine gives you like a death and decay. Trollbane gives you a chains of ice on the target. But when you Scourge Strike the chains of ice, it like explodes for big damage. So that actually does a lot of damage. And then the other guy gives you like a dot. Whitemane gives you a dot called Undeath, which spreads between people. And Nazgrim basically gives you strength.
So which ones do you want? Like, which ones are the good ones?
The strength from Nazgrim is nice, or the Trollbane one. Like if the Trollbane puts up his chains and you Scourge it for the big damage, that one's nice too. But I'd probably just like the Trollbane and the Nazgrim the most for the strength. Although the dot's pretty good too from Whitemane, so any of those 3. The D&D one is kind of meh because I already have the file down 90% of the time, so that one's not that crazy.
Sweet. And then let's go through some of the choices. Imagine you're helping a DK for the first time set up their build. Sure. So I know on the left-hand side you have 2 options, On a Paler Horse or Death Charge, and no, there's probably a better option here, but can you explain the choice between those 2?
Sure. Only one of those works in PvP, in like Arena, BGs, everything like that. It's Death Charge, so if you're PvPing, that's going to be the play. Unless you're like world PvPing. On a Paler Horse only works outside, so you're pretty much only using that in like world PvP or questing or something like that. And
it says you can use it to break free of movement impairing effects. Does that include roots or just snares?
Yeah, it includes everything. Yeah.
That's pretty good. Let's see, going down the right-hand side, we'll do the right-hand side first. We have the choice between Horseman's Aid and Pack of the Apocalypse. I know Horseman's Aid was recently nerfed. That was your horseman could sometimes cast AMS.
Yep.
Are you still playing that talent at all? Or
I do. I still play it. I still play it into like full caster lobbies or full magic lobbies. I'll play it. If it's like a magic melee, I'll probably switch to the other one. But if it's just full magic, I'll play Horseman's Aid.
And Pack of the Apocalypse, you probably want to hardlock that into melee.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. And then let's see, you have in the middle row, you have a choice between Fury of the Horsemen and Feast the Soul. So which one do you like there?
Those are both good. I've been playing Feast of Souls at the moment, but some people play Fury. It's you can kind of just play either one. It's kind of just personal preference, but they're both good. I switch it up.
And how do you make that decision? Like, is there a specific build where you want to play one or the other, or how do you choose?
I don't just what I'm feeling, honestly. Lately, I've been feeling Feast of Souls, but it just depends, right? The left one's going to be a little bit RNG, the Fury of the Horseman, and then Feast is a little bit more controlled. So since I'm trying to like kill people with coils and maximize my coils, I've been playing that at the moment. But
yeah, that's actually one thing I want to. We kind of skipped over this, but as far as the Unholy DK playstyle is concerned, you've been mentioning Death Coil a lot. Like, what are the key abilities that you actually press these days as an Unholy DK? Like, what are your most important abilities?
All right, so importantly, I'm trying to keep my dots and then proc Plaguebringer first, right? So Plaguebringer is when you Scourge Strike, it puts up for 10 seconds, you get a thing that makes your dots do more damage. So that's Plaguebringer. I'm trying to prioritize that. And then the next thing I'm worried about is Doomburst Coils. So the PvP talent Doomburst, it let up until yesterday, it let us burst 3 wounds, but now it's going to be 2 wounds total. So basically, I'll try to like get a proc, and then I want to burst the wounds on 2 people because the coil cleaves. So I want to try to burst as many wounds on as many people as possible with the coil as much as I can. That's basically what I'm trying to do.
And how do you skip these wounds? How do you stack them up?
You can stack them with Defile or Death and Decay if you're playing a certain talent, which I happen to play in my build, Pestilence. So you can stack them like that. If you have an Infected Claws on the talent, you can get it from your Ghoul, or other than that, Festering Strike. Yeah. So those are
kind of
the 3 ways.
And a weird play style, like you explode people, basically. With you kind of ramp up your damage and then you burst.
Yeah, you make them sick and then you just kind of like prod them and the boils explode. It's medieval medicine to make people better. It's healing, guys. It's healing. We swear.
I'm the healer.
I'm a healer. No, that's cool. And obviously, we talked a little bit about PvP talents before as well. You mentioned Bloodforged Armor into jungle to kind of survive. Are there any PvP talents that are like a must that you literally have to take every single time, or is there kind of like a set number?
I'm still experimenting since the changes yesterday, but basically I always play Necrotic Wounds, pretty much always, because that's our like pseudo Mortal Strike, and it's also a lot of healing and everything like that. And then Doomburst was an also auto lock. Always played that, so it was kind of like those two were just set in stone. Doomburst, I'm not sure. Maybe since it just got nerfed yesterday, it only bursts like so. Sudden Doom, the proc itself bursts 1 wound, and then Doomburst was bursting an additional 2, so it was 3. But now Doomburst is only an additional 1. So I'm not sure if that's going to be 100% auto lock still. I'm going to test it out a bit. But so far, the Doomburst and Necrotic Wounds were an auto lock. And then the third talent was going to be my flex talent for whatever I'm fighting. Usually Strangulate, but it could be Bloodforged, could be Spell Warden, could be Dark Sim. But
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, one key change too is Strangulate now replaces Asphyxiate. You can't have both anymore.
Yeah.
So maybe are you looking to pick up Strangulate when you already have stuns on your team or something?
Exactly, yeah. Definitely. When it's higher value. Or if like my team already has a silence, then I won't play it or whatever. I'll just play around what we're doing, right?
Yeah. And then you mentioned Bloodforged Armor. That's when you Death Strike, you get physical damage reduction for 20% physical damage reduction for 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Spell Warden is a bit interesting because it allows you to use AMS on friendly players, and would imagine you probably would use that on healers, like to immune CC most of the time, or are you
like,
using it to
you could use it to like eat traps is really good, right? Eat traps and all against all these comps or damage CC, anything like that.
Yeah, because I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but like AMS is less of a damage reduction cooldown and more of just a magic immunity cooldown, because like the shield itself can get blasted through by some specs pretty easily, right? Like a Frost Mage, for instance, can go through it, or Devastation Evoker can go through it, but it's really good against like Affliction Warlocks, right? Where they can't really easily break it. Or is it just kind of good as a defensive across the board?
It's kind of just good across the board. It does a lot of healing right now too, like with Spellwarden, it's only a 30-second like cooldown too, so you can just keep like, say I was just playing some DHDK, right? And we were fighting like Rogue Caster. I could just use it on my DH on every single kidney, basically, or anything like that. So it's definitely really, really strong in a lot of situations. I actually didn't play it like at all last expansion. I don't even think I played it one singular time. But I'm incorporating it more now. It's definitely really, really good right now.
Discovery of the tech is nice. I think the especially with the amount of hunters we've got on the ladder as well, eating traps is such a big thing. I genuinely feel, I don't know about you guys, but like if my healer is in CC for 5 seconds, I feel dead pretty much into every single jungle. Like or any hunter comp, I just feel like I'm dead pretty much instantly within that 5 seconds, sorry. So yeah, that sounds really, really useful. I guess the next thing really to talk about is tier set. Not as important. And I personally, I'm really happy for the most part with how they've handled tier set for PvP this expansion. I feel like the tier sets aren't massive increases like they were last time. In Dragonflight, I feel like they've made a real conscious decision to make them sort of do a minor amount of increase, some sort of, like a light bit of damage. It seems to be like usually a bit of damage increase. It obviously is nerfed by about 50% in PvP, but my question to you is, are you going for 4 set? Are you going for 2 set? What's the deal for Unholy DK?
I'm just going to play the 2 set, yeah. The one we already have, the helm and legs. So the set bonuses are terrible for DK, literally terrible for Unholy, that is. The only reason we're playing the 2 set is because the helm and legs have the stats that we want. So it's kind of just like free, right? If it didn't have the stats we wanted, we wouldn't even play the 2 set. But since the helm and the legs have good stats, we're just going to grab it. We just grab it anyways, and it's just kind of a free bonus. Yep. But yeah, it's like 4% pet damage, right? And pets are not really our main damage, anything like that. So yeah, but since it's free, it has like haste and verse, and then I think haste mastery on the legs. So since the stats are good, so we'll go for it. But the 4 set, no bueno. It's all crit and not worth.
No, fair enough. I think it's a good idea to kind of be able to. That's what I like, because we didn't feel like we had to get it. You don't have to get it if you don't want to. It doesn't impact the game as much. Maybe someone comes up with a strat where it works. Maybe it doesn't. Whatever. The point is that it doesn't impact it as much, which I think is really cool. So just 2 set for the DK, bro. And then obviously talking about, going into the kind of nitty gritty details. Is there any sort of specific stats that you kind of focus on? Is there any soft or hard caps that you need at this stage?
So I'm just gonna go for me personally. I'm going for between 20 and 25 haste, and then I'm gonna go for about 25 verse, and then I'm just gonna pump mastery. That's basically it. Usually in the first season of expansions, I like to go like 13 haste, then full mastery. But just because of the way, well, maybe I might drop a little bit of haste because of the Doomburst change. But just the way that wounds were, like Doomburst was bursting 3 wounds a person and cleaving 2 people. It was like impossible to have enough wounds to even maximize all the time. So the haste made it feel really nice. But yeah, I think you could go like a little bit less. You could go like 13 haste and go full mastery. You could go 20 haste. You could go 25. But as long as you any of those would be good, honestly. But yeah, me personally, I'm going to go between 20, 25 haste, 25 verse, and then just crank mastery all the way.
That makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. And is there any like embellishments specifically that you want to get on your gear?
Embellishments. So right now I have the mines one and I have the verse one. Honestly, it seems like the people's opinion on the embellishments is changing every couple days. So I'm kind of just waiting until I'm just full geared and then I'll switch them out later. Because to me, so far from what I've tried with embellishments, they're all kind of just not that insane. But yeah, I'm hearing that the gem one is maybe good now. I don't have it yet, so I can't 100% speak on that. But they don't really seem like game changing so much. So right now I just kind of have 2 that do something, and then later on when we're fully geared and everything's uncapped, we'll min max and see what's good. But it'll probably end up being the gem one maybe right now, the gem damage one, but not 100%.
Yeah, how do you guys feel about like embellishments are very weird right now because as you said, they don't really feel that impactful, which is in some ways a good thing, but at the same time it feels weird not knowing what your best embellishment is. It feels wrong to not know what it is, and because they're all kind of just mediocre. I was even thinking about playing I think there's one that like gives you a shield or something when you drop low.
I was like, I've heard people playing that.
Maybe that's not that bad, because like for healers, the options are kind of a bit. Well, for healers, they actually have a good one if you play a healer with auto direct healing. But if you don't, then it's like, well, what do you do? But yeah, it's kind of a weird thing. And then as far as not embellishment. The new gems are concerned. Which the cognate or the bloodstone gems. Which ones are you looking to use?
I've been using the enduring one, the one that when you get CC'd, you take 5% less damage. Yeah, I've just been using that one. I guess there's another one you could play where when you get snared or rooted or something, you get some damage. But I think the 5% damage reduction one is better though, honestly, in most situations, because it's like you get it and it's a 6-second buff too. So I think that's pretty good. Not dying is definitely crucial.
Well, I guess it also stacks with your Death Strike ability as well. Like that, you're kind of like guaranteed as long as you're kind of snared or in some form of CC or anything like that. If you any like movement based things, then at least you've got like that 25% as opposed to 20. You can kind of manage, which I think it all adds up. Like,
it does.
I was thinking about that as well.
Yeah. You also have that talent, right? When you drop below 30 something percent, you get damage reduction. I think it's nerfed in PvP, but it's still like 17% damage reduction or something.
I'm not sure exactly how much, but I know you're talking about World of Necropolis. Yeah. So we got lots of walls when we get that, and we got lots when we get low. I actually felt pretty tanky with Bloodforged into the jungle when I was just queuing an hour ago. So
I think that's I think that's the new tech that kind of you've got something figured out for that comp, and I think a lot of people are going to have to try and figure something out for that because it's going to be a bit gross, but or it already is gross. So that makes sense. And is there any kind of this seems like a silly question to ask at this stage, but is there any specific kind of race that you need to pick as DK? Is any particular one? Secrets you want to share?
Listen, you never have to pick in a certain race, all right? I ended #1 ladder on my Draenei last season, my red Draenei, all right? But if you want to pick the best one, Dark Iron Dwarf is really broken right now because of all the ferals and afts and everything like that. The scaling is really strong for the racial right now too, like it's a ton of damage. So I would say Dark Iron Dwarf is insane. But I'm still playing my Draenei too, and
just handing out healing.
Yeah, just there it is, Gift of the Naru here.
When we said you're healing, I mean, we weren't wrong.
Yeah.
You have got it. Bro, and then obviously, I know you're playing a lot more solo shuffle. I mean, it kind of says enough as it is. It's a good spec to play in solo shuffle. It seems to do really well, very strong. Lots of flexibility against different types of enemies. But if we're thinking sort of regular 2s and 3s, is there any particular comps or anything that you suggest to those who want to play the kind of main bracket?
Yeah, I would play Hunter DK or Assass DK is good too. But DK Prez X is going to be good. But I'd say probably Prez Hunter DK is probably your best bet, I would say.
Mm-hmm. And what about RPGs? Is there any sort of viability in that?
Or solo, like Blitz or?
Yeah, Blitz or regular RPGs.
Lots of viability. I would say both specs, Frost and Unholy, are both S tier and Blitz easily. Just because of the way they're designed, right? Like chains, grip, everything you have is just so good in BGs, especially in like a solo environment. You can make a lot of plays and carry.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
2v2 right now is, from my understanding, just you play with a Disc Priest or Prez Evoker, and that's like that's
sadly so. I feel like Disc has like an angle though, because every single disc I seem to queue into does so much damage. All the time. It's like you're just getting pummeled from all angles, and they've got that little, when they're playing Void Weaver as well, when the rift slows you and kind of like runs at you. They actually have the same AI as the BM pets, because it just runs at you, it's like a zombie. It's like chasing you down from across the
and I know it's kind of, in some ways it's kind of sad, because when Disc is really, really good in 2v2, it basically eliminates the possibility of playing double DPS. Like if you play double DPS, I'm sure like a Disc Priest could like 1v2 you, like they do legit insane damage, and you're never gonna overcome double PS, barrier, rapture. There's too many cooldowns to deal with as a double DPS. So, but and I know Prez isn't just insanely good too right now in 2s, because they just pump.
Yeah.
Big damage. This is the expansion. I swear because Blizzard is just buffing healer damage every single week. Like they buffed Resto Druid damage, Resto Shaman damage, Holy Paladin damage. I think they just want healers to just do damage.
I think so. I like.
But right now it's just like there's only 2 that are really good at doing damage.
It's fun though.
Yeah,
that's the reason why. increase the fun side of being healer. Like I a lot of my healer friends, the ones that kind of and ah about playing, even they kind of log on to, like, for example, like their R shaman mains and go like, yeah, you know what, it's okay playing like Lava Burst or doing anything like that, but I want to feel like I'm doing something that kind of like you want to feel like you're not just a bot at the back just throwing heals out, and you want to feel like you're making a difference, because I mean sometimes it just feels like you're kind of PvE healing, which is why, and Big, you'll be proud, the Restager that I play with is like full on sort of feral, like is in there like biting people for 1 mil, like going in, like, you know, the healing aside, like I don't get any heals, we're just doing damage. The healing hasn't happened to me. Like at the end of the game I'm like, dude, I need heals. He's just like, no, we're gonna win in this MAME. So but I think that's fun, you know, it's enjoyable, and twos are, you know, it's not the bracket that it was, but anyway, DKs are, I feel like, are in a good spot for there.
I think DKs are actually pretty good in twos, I think, right now. I mean, Feral is really good, Sub Rogue's really good, Survival Hunter is really good. And so I mean, you have a lot of enemies as Unholy DK in that bracket, but I still think you're probably pretty good, right?
I haven't actually queued any twos, but I could see it now. It would be hard to get a kill, but you just dampen them, right? So unless you have like unless you have a Prez or a disc, like you said, maybe you can land a kill before, but we have no finisher, so we would either have to dampen or overwhelm them, maybe. I don't know. I haven't queued any twos this season yet, though. But
and then I've heard that, yeah, just like dealing, like Feral Druids are a tough matchup for Unholy in twos. Same with Fury Warriors. You know, they just out damage you. And then if the Sub Rogue is really good, it's just like it feels like an unwinnable matchup in twos sometimes. But speaking of unwinnable matchups and beating DKs, how, like, if you had to give some pieces of advice to players who are playing against DKs and feeling frustrated, or like how do I win against a DK? Like, what are some tips, I guess? Like, how do you kill a DK? What are some good damage tips to? How
do you kill the DK? Well, if you're a Fury Warrior, you just keep your MS up. I don't think there's like a special way, right? Just be one of the classes that counters them and do damage. Like, if you're not one of the hard counters, I feel like it's going to be hard to kill the DK right now, honestly, because they have more mobility now with the steed, and if they just kite and stuff like that, and we have a lot of defenses that we didn't have, so it's actually pretty hard. I don't even think DK is like the best target, especially if they're playing tanky talents like Bloodforged and stuff like that. But one thing, if you want to screw over the DK, when they pop their army and everything like that, just kite it, right? Just kite all the cooldowns, kite all the millions of pets and everything, and that will screw them over a little bit. Or you could like blind them or CC, whatever. But how to kill them? I can't think of any special tips. I mean, just play Jungle Cleave, right? And that should work. Or anything physical, but it kind of you'll just kind of kill the DK unless he plays properly. Like if he just sits there and face tanks everything, like a Fury Warrior's damage or anything like that, he'll just die. So it kind of just comes down to him doing his job to not die.
And can you still disarm to prevent Death Strike? And
you can disarm to prevent Death Strike, and then all they can do is Lichborn heal. So when they're low, you could kite them so they can't Death Strike you, I guess, or you could disarm them for it. But Death Strike's not that crazy right now, realistically, since they nerfed it. But I mean, it's good once every 5 seconds. It's okay, but it's not.
And
without Bloodforged.
How big of a cooldown is AMZ? I mean, and you could probably knock people out of AMZ, but is it worth it? Like
it's definitely worth it. You definitely got to use AMZ, and you definitely got to land the AMZs. It's super important. Even if they knock you out of it or something like that, right? You still got to go for it. It's a big cooldown because you can use it on your whole team essentially if they all come to it. So it's super important to try and use that. Same like solo shuffles, right? When everyone pops their damage or everything, I'll just throw the zone early. Just try to save healers' cooldowns. But it's super important button for sure.
Nice.
Yeah,
and then
that makes sense.
If you're playing against DK and you find yourself dying quite a bit, like what are the major cooldowns you need to be actually paying attention to? Like what is the air horn on weak aura that you need to
A-bomb. When you see the abomination,
A-bomb, okay.
Yeah, when you see the A-bomb, that means all the horsemen are coming with it, which means he also has Unholy Assault, which means darkness. Like they have everything all at once, right? So if you see the A-bomb or you see Unholy Assault, like if you see the Unholy Assault buffing everything by 20%, then that's a pretty good time that you're about to probably die or take a lot of damage. So you want to Yeah, because like again, the cooldowns all perfectly line up, so it's gonna be like 4 cooldowns hitting you at once, right? It's gonna be like Unholy Assault, Dark Transformation, Apocalypse, and A-Bomb with all the horsemen. So those are gonna all hit you at once. So you're gonna want to trade cooldowns for that for sure. Definitely trade that. Defensives.
Yeah, you want to. So that's ice blocks, mages. If you're forgetting them, you might want to press it.
You can also just root all the pets. That would be better. Just root all the pets. Ice
True.
Nova.
True. True. You could do that indeed. No, that's fantastic. And I was about to say as well, like talking about what we've kind of really discussed here. Obviously, the major point that I've taken away from you today, Party Waffles, above all the other very useful information you've provided, is that jungle is the big killer for DKs at the minute, which is mostly physical damage. They've got a lot of ways to survive themselves. So if you're out there and you're really depressed about queuing into DKs, they've got you slowed, you can't move, you're getting gripped back and forth, you're a shadow priest, you're stuck. Jungle is an option. So that's the one takeaway that I've got from that. But speaking about one thing, and this is something that we kind of do at the end of every single kind of section that we've done, every single subject analysis. If you had, Party Waffles, unlimited money, unlimited prestige, absolutely anything, you've got, like, anything you want, you've got it. What is the one thing that you would change with WoW PvP?
That's a good question. The one thing I would change with WoW PvP? Well. I would give DK's Necrotic Strike. Yep. There it is.
I mean, I was about to say they don't really have it, but they do kind of, and then don't at the same time. You mean like old school Necrotic?
Yeah, old one that like reduces their cast time, that absorbs healing. Yeah, I would do that. But just for general PvP, I would probably say, that's a good one. Uncap solo shuffle MMR. Yep, that's what.
Nice.
That's a good one.
That's a very good one.
Oh my god, yeah, I'm playing at like 1800 right now as a healer, and it is like brutal. Like, you lose one lobby and it's like, man, like there goes like a few hours of work, and yeah, it's really frustrating when MMR is this squished, because like the rating I'm playing at right now, like games are so random. You get either very competent players at like 1800, or you get kind of clueless players, and they're all in the same lobby, and it's like, what the hell?
Yeah, exactly.
My favorite one this season so far was when I did my first solo shuffle on my Devastation Evoker, and Raikou is in my lobby.
Oh my gosh.
Just goes 6-0. Yeah, nobody knows what they're doing. I'm like trying to go like, come on, we can do this, guys. This is where he falls. No, Raikou did not fall. He 6-0'd that lobby. But I know what you mean. Like it feels strange that Battleground Blitz is pretty much like uncapped, and everyone's like zooming up the rating in that. I think
people are like 2900 and BG Blitz.
Yeah. Seems
and then,
intentional, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Maybe you're right. Actually, they were like, oh, we want people to play this, but people will do. Like, people are doing it. I think the fact that they added duo queue into it is the best thing they could have ever have done, because it is almost unplayable solo, in my opinion. I've had a terrible time, but duo queue is good, and I think that's what we need. But
Jake, what about you? What would you change?
Oh, what would I change? Oh, I've answered this so many times. I need to think of an answer now. This is the problem. I think, it must be like over 100 times. But let me think. What would I change? Okay, I would change. I would actually, yes. Okay, I've got unlimited money. I would redesign. Elemental Shaman and kind of bring it back, and this is going to sound, I would bring it back to like a mop level Elemental Shaman design. Like, I loved it back then. In fact, actually, if we do a mop classic, I am 100% coming through and playing that again. But redesign Elemental Shaman, bring it back to that kind of level. Maybe add Lasso in there, but I just preferred that gameplay and that kind of flexibility, and it was just really enjoyable, especially with how Ascendance felt as well. So that's one of the things that I would change. What about you, Big Moran?
I mean, Party Waffle said it at the beginning. I want to see more solo shuffle tournaments. It's really fun. I think from the viewers' point of view, it's my favorite. I mean, every time they've done these official solo shuffle tournaments, just it's so exciting watching player point of views and then just how chaotic it can be. Like it's a very fun viewing experience. And I think like logistically, it makes a lot of sense for like a LAN tournament, you know, in a lot of other games that are sort of more single player, it's kind of cool being able to root for like an individual player, you know, like if you play Smash Bros or something, you can root for your favorite Smash Bros player. I mean, you can kind of do the same thing in, you know, the traditional 3v3 AWC, but it's kind of cool being able to root for just one single person. And I think it'd be relatively cheap for Blizzard to make like a, you know, a LAN tournament for solo shuffle compared to 3v3. I think it'd be cool. Like, you know, you get, I don't know how many healers you need, like 4 healers and then however many DPS on a weekend, just all having fun, you know, that'd be a good time. And so yeah, I'd like to see more solo shuffle tournaments.
Yeah,
and
absolutely agreed. That'd be really, really cool. And obviously we'll see Party Waffles there. You'll be in that solo shuffle tournament, as you said.
Yeah, we played in the other one. I would play in all of them if possible.
I mean, should we tell them? Should we tell them, Big?
Yeah, I'm gonna call the CEO of Blizzard after this, and I'm gonna convince him.
Let's do it.
You know,
let's do it.
I'm gonna write him a strongly worded essay. You know, and he's gonna have no choice.
Exactly. Well, so this is we've talked a lot today. Well, we've talked a shorter amount of time than we would do, but we are actually going to kind of lead this out here. I think Big Moran and Party Waffles, you guys have both got to shoot off, and obviously we don't just want to be chatting to me alone for another hour. So what we'll do is maybe just end with Party Waffles. Could you let the viewers know where they can find you, where they can view you, where they can follow you?
I can. Yep, you guys can find me at twitch.tv/PartyWafflesX, or you can find me at Party Waffles on YouTube. And yeah, we also have a Discord with 7,000 people. You can join that if you want. And you know, we have a subathon starting tomorrow on my stream on Twitch, so gonna be good times.
There we go.
Be there or be square.
Be there or be square. Exactly. And Big, could you list off where our listeners can reach us?
Oh, absolutely, I can. You can contact us directly with a tweet to @technically_PvP or by an email to technicallypvp@gmail.com. You can also join our discussions on the Bonus Roll Production Discord. Also, you can visit the Bonus Roll website to find the podcast directory with us and many other great shows at bonusroll.gg. This directory also has a review system, so head over there and give us some 5-star ratings.
And as always, links for these will be in the show notes. Thank you all for listening, and we will chat with you next time. Good night, everyone.